Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies, and the ACC is not doing what we thought with the ACC. Virginia looked like they were every bit the top team in the ACC, but they lose to Virginia Tech. Florida State comes out of their COVID protocol, Lauren. They've looked great until they met Georgia Tech in the face shield. Meanwhile, Duke, if you've been paying attention, has looked okay despite the record, and it really came through on Clemson. So where do you want to start?
We could start with Virginia. That was
Okay.
the game I just watched. And that was, yeah, it was really, it escalated quickly, as the kids say. You know, it was like Virginia had been in control most of the game. It seemed like they were taking control in the second half, and then just all of a sudden it just kind of switched, and they couldn't get a bucket. They just couldn't. And Virginia Tech was limiting them to one shot. I think some of it with Virginia Tech actually is like, and I mean, this is sort of like most teams, but I think Virginia Tech is more so this way. When they start hitting threes, I think it ratchets everything up for them, especially defense.
It does.
And I think that's kind of what happened here. They played better defensively. Once they started hitting threes, they got some momentum going, and that was just kind of that. Now, did I expect Virginia to go I think it was 7-8 minutes without a field goal? No. But yeah, I mean, it's something too where Virginia's not a team that gets to the foul line very much. They only got there twice, and if you're not making shots, as the kids say, that can be kind of a problem when you're not getting to the line either.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Virginia did make 10 threes in this game tonight against Virginia Tech, but they did it on 28 attempts. They shot
a lot of that came in the first half.
Yeah, so there were things just kind of got away from Virginia in this game. And it's important to note that because I get it. Virginia has its rep under Tony Bennett. But with Sam Hauser and the makeup of this group with the Cavaliers, they've been a little bit punchier with their offense this year. So it was a bit of a surprise to see it get away from them tonight. It could just be an anomaly of an evening way it was for Virginia.
I'll say this too, and I forgot. Jay Huff getting in foul trouble, I think that hurt them too because he was playing well. They were in a rhythm, and then all of a sudden he's out. They're not in a rhythm anymore. But, I don't think they're going to go that long without making a field goal usually. And Virginia Tech, look, all they do with Mike Young is beat ranked teams. So what are you going to do? I think it's 4 straight now, something like that.
Is it at that point now?
Yeah, it's there or close to it. So that's just kind of what they do.
Well, I mean, if you look at the conference rankings right now, Virginia Tech is 7-2 in the conference. Virginia Tech takes their first loss of conference play against the Hokies right now. And then Florida State also takes another loss today against Georgia Tech. That, to me, was the surprise. I was not expecting the Yellow Jackets. As much as I've been on the Yellow Jackets this season, especially when it comes to their guard play or Jose Alvarado, I was not expecting them to beat Florida State, given the way that the Seminoles have been playing out once they've gotten out of their COVID protocol. This was a bit of a surprise to me. I'll admit, I did not expect this tonight against the Seminoles.
It was a little less surprising to me than the Virginia Tech, partially because that's a rivalry game and whatever, and things happen. And Virginia, I mean, you hate to use the word was due, but they were going to lose at some point. Florida State, Georgia Tech surprised me a little bit less though, because it's one of those things where Georgia Tech, we knew what they were capable of doing. We know they love to play the role of spoiler in this league, especially against the teams that are playing well. And they're a tough team to play against. I mean, we've seen it. If you look at, what's Georgia Tech's record in the league now? It's actually sneaky good.
Georgia Tech has been sneaky good. They're 4-3 in conference play right now.
But the losses are to FSU, Virginia, and Duke.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, if you've watched Virginia Tech play, they've been entertaining to watch. Or you have been distracted by Josh Pastner's face shield. One of the two.
Yeah, it can be both.
It could be both. It could be both. Now, here's the thing about watching a team play and seeing that they're a little bit better than their record might indicate. And this, we finally get around to the whole Duke situation. Duke, they did not play well against Pitt, right? They were down double digits against Virginia Tech. They were down double digits against Pitt. But in the Louisville game, things started to turn around a little bit, despite the fact that they lost that game. In the subsequent games, they've looked much better. And I think today against Clemson, two things can be true at one time. Duke can be better than what the record has indicated the last couple of games, and things have started to come around for them. And Clemson, coming out of their COVID pause, has not been able to rekindle whatever it was that we had seen them play up until the NC State win, right? They had a really, really good game against NC State. State played well in that game too. It just things got away from them in overtime. But I feel like Clemson's offense and whatever rotation Brad Brownell seems to be playing right now is off. It's just gone. Like they just don't have it right now. And even defensively, I didn't find them all that good against Duke today.
That's the thing. The reason they beat Louisville is because they played well defensively.
Yes.
And this isn't to short Duke, like who is playing well and everything else. And offensively and defensively, they're playing well. They're playing better. We know that. But Clemson, I mean, you know how I feel about this. Like, I hate to pile on a coach or whatever, but like, you got to play both ends. Yeah. You do. You got to play both ends of the floor. And Clemson, I tweeted this out. I think it's like 8 of his 11 seasons as head coach. And yes, I think we're on 11 now for Brad Brownell. They've finished like bottom 4 of the league in offense, in offensive efficiency. And it's just like, and they're 14th now. And it's just at a certain point, like, yes, we understand you go into COVID pause, you lose a little bit of a rhythm, you lose a little bit of maybe some of what you had. But I mean, I think 4 of the 5 games, they've been blown out. Like whatever they've lost, they've been blown out, and it hasn't even been close. Their offense has been a mess. Their defense has been a mess. This team is unrecognizable. And even if they had defended Duke, like that's a game probably like what, in the high 60s, low 70s, maybe they turn it into a rock fight, but instead they don't play very good defense and Duke just does whatever it wants. And Clemson had like 2 points in the first like 10 minutes. Like, the first game off the pause, fine. But we're on game 5 now. Like what exactly is it that you're doing on offense right now? Like, whoa.
No, I don't know that. And I still get back to the way they played defense in this game. I mean, and I think a microcosm of this is the PJ Hall and Jalen Johnson.
Oh my God.
So there was a bit of an interesting discourse on social media today when Jalen Johnson got. I think the undersold part of that play was the fact that there was a created steal in that situation. And he goes coast to coast and dunks on PJ Hall, number 24 for Clemson. To me, I mean, look, it was a nice dunk, don't get me wrong. But the part that I had a hard time like processing were people on social media that were they were almost like apologizing for PJ Hall. It was, hey, the guy was hustling back on defense. I mean, he was trying. I'm like, well, in this situation, I would not belittle a business decision from PJ Hall. Like, all you're really doing is you're making yourself. You look foolish in that situation. And I didn't quite understand the way people were kind of coming out going, well, at least he tried. I mean, did he though? He basically got back enough in a way to get dunked on. I mean, if you wanted, if you're that desperate to be on SportsCenter, like if you really want to be on SportsCenter, I mean, that's one way to do it. I just didn't really understand the process behind that dunk.
I feel like that's like Clemson basketball in a nutshell, right? At least you tried.
Like, is it the good job, good effort situation?
I was having this broader discussion about Brad Brownell on Twitter, and it was like, I think someone like made the analogy of David Cutcliffe in the sense that like, if you don't embarrass us in our other sport and you're respectable enough and have enough like good years, you can stay around for a while. And I'm not saying that he should be let go or anything. I just don't understand why we're on year 11 and he still has a non-functional offense. But that's whatever.
I saw you tweeting about that. And again, they're trying to get by on defense. But if you can't create any transition points in defense, and they weren't really doing much of anything against Duke today, well, then you're going to get the result that you ended up having tonight.
But PJ Hall ended up looking like he looked kind of like he was about to like dive in off the blocks, like in a swim meet. If you take Jalen Johnson out of that. I don't know, man. I don't know if if you say like you don't want to get dunked on, or like does he get a point or something for like at practice? Like, does he get some kind of award?
I really don't know the thinking in that situation. I really don't.
Maybe it was
I
just
just
too
don't.
late. Maybe it was just too late for him. Like maybe
And
he
maybe
had
that's the
just like,
case.
he
Maybe
committed.
that's the
He couldn't
case.
get out of the way. He knew he was going on the poster.
All jokes aside, with PJ Hall getting posterized by Jalen Johnson, I'm not saying that Duke in any way, shape, or form is back or they can go on some sort of NCAA tournament run. I simply go back to something that I said earlier when they didn't look all that great. Give it
The rest
some
of the ACC ain't
time.
great, and the
What's
rest of the
that?
ACC and the rest of the ACC isn't that good. So like
No, I mean,
most of it.
I don't even want to make this about the rest of the ACC because I think that applies to to Carolina as
Oh
well.
sure, yeah,
And
yeah.
we're a week away from that first Duke Carolina meeting. And initially, like right off the top of my head, I'm inclined to give Carolina the benefit of the doubt. But let's strip the rest of the ACC out of it. It's been a weird season,
Yeah.
and a lot of teams have not been able to have a normal year. That's the one thing that's been undersold about the Tar Heels this season is that the amount of games that they have
Had a normal
played.
one. Yeah.
And I actually understand why they didn't want to play this weekend because this is the built-in break in the weekend for North Carolina.
Well, I think the only game they have to make up is Clemson, and they obviously couldn't play Clemson because Clemson's
Right.
playing. So.
Although the ACC has shown a tendency to just be like, can you play? You can play too? All right, let's play a game. I think there was a possibility of North Carolina and Notre Dame playing this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Notre Dame's playing right now. But anyway.
They're playing right now, but there was a possibility that that game could have been played or something like that.
Gotcha.
Anyway, long story short, North Carolina and Duke are similar in the sense that you have freshmen in a position that they needed reps. I mean, one way or the other, they needed reps. Yeah. North Carolina has had more of these reps, and I think we're starting to see with Duke too that once the reps have kind of come in, you're starting to see what they're capable of. Again, I'm not saying they're going to go on some sort of run. I'm simply saying that they were better than their record might indicate. I think the last two games and even in the loss against Louisville, you're starting to see them marinate a little bit. And I think it's going to make for an interesting game against the Tar Heels on Saturday.
It matters that they were without Jalen Johnson for a long time.
Yes.
It also matters, and they were without Mark Williams for a while, and he gave them a huge boost today off the bench. He played great the game before as well against Georgia Tech. He'd been dealing with some tendonitis, 7-foot freshman. I mean, they need all the bigs they can get at this point, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's played great. And not having Jalen Johnson meant they were essentially playing without a big for a little while.
Yep.
He was out for a long time. But even with Jalen, this is still their biggest margin of victory of the year, and it comes against the top KenPom team they've played so far. Like, that stuff matters. And it matters to me for sure. Like, you know, I've bagged on Clemson a lot, but I mean, that stuff still matters, and it's significant for Duke, and they've got to be feeling really good about themselves. What do they have? They play Miami. I think that's the only other game between them and North Carolina.
The game, they have Miami on Monday, actually, and then they'll play North Carolina on Saturday. And the other thing, too, about Duke, and we'll close on this, it depends on how much you want to read into it. There was a reason why Coach K looked as excited as he was in their win against Georgia Tech, right?
He knows they're good.
And you could see today too with the players how they were kind of feeling it in their blowout win against Clemson. Confidence builds confidence. I've said the same thing about North Carolina.
Yes.
People can make a big deal about who they have played or who they haven't played in January. Doesn't matter to me. Do you look like you've been putting it together? Do you look like you're building confidence? With North Carolina, I feel that way. Duke in the last couple of games, especially what I saw today, they look like they're building confidence. I would expect them to continue to do that against Miami. Mm-hmm. And what initially I thought would be a North Carolina win starts to become a little bit more of a toss-up on Saturday. But we got the rest of the week to discuss this.
I know I'm going to jinx it, though, if I say this, but it's very cool to me, and I'm going to jinx it, and Clemson's going to probably ruin everything when they play North Carolina or something, but it is exciting to me to see these teams starting to play well and put it together when they're about to play together.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. It's going to go from a unranked or these aren't the I mean, look, it's a little bit similar to last season for Duke and Carolina, which produced some entertaining games. We always do this. It's like, oh, well, you know, they're not top 25 or they're not top 10 or whatever it is. I don't know. They look like they're actually getting things right, which should make for an entertaining game next Saturday. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. We'll see y'all later in the week. We got plenty to talk about with Duke and Carolina in action. NC State also back in action as well. They'll be playing on Sunday. What, Lauren?
That's a hand raise. I forgot one thing.
Yes.
We'd be remiss, and I feel like our people in the state would be mad if we didn't. Shout out to Wake and Steve Forbes, win number 2. I don't know what the heck's going on with Miami. That's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. Good for you, Deeks.
And good for your doppelganger.
I know. He played great.
Carter Witt played great. I think maybe he's taking some of that Brownlow energy. I don't know what that energy is, but it's good.
I was going to say, I don't know that he's taking that. Trust me.
Are you sure? Is he wearing an ACC hat and wearing glasses now?
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. We'll see you all later in the week.